Today on 21st Century Business, explore state-of-the-art technology, innovative business strategies, insights from cutting-edge corporations around the globe, a visionary look into the answers of tomorrow, today. Business leaders, business solutions, 21st Century Business.
Welcome to 21st Century Business. I'm Jackie Bales. Sophisticated attacks on information systems pose real and serious threats to the security of nations, industries, and individuals alike. Despite the prevalence and severity of these cyber attacks, many of those at risk don't have the necessary tools or experience to safeguard against them. Well, here today to discuss how their company, Vanguard Integrity Professionals, is solving this important issue, we have Chief Operating Officer Steve Ringelberg. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks for having me, Jackie.
Also joining us is Chief Strategy Officer with Vanguard, Paul DeGraff. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks for having us, Jackie.
Stephen, tell us more about the challenges organizations face when it comes to cybersecurity these days.
Today we are in a different world than we were probably 12, 15 years ago. We have a lot of outside actors outside an enterprise or government agency that are trying to do it harm. They really come into three categories. One is nation states that are trying to get in and potentially do malicious things, but mostly try to exfiltrate intellectual property. Cyber crime organizations that are typically based overseas, but sometimes here in the US, where they're basically trying to monetize being able to break into your enterprise or your agency by withdrawing money or being able to sell assets that they've stolen from you. And then more recently we have what's called hacktivists or terrorists. These are third parties like Al-Qaeda or other entities out there that go after government agencies, but also the private sector. Those three, the intensity of the attacks and the severity and the consequences of those attacks have increased. And we have terabytes of data going overseas all the time from both government agencies and private enterprise.
Wow.
And that's an enormous loss to the country. We have an existing problem, which has been a problem all along, and continues to be a very severe and critical problem, which is malicious insiders. We always have to be guarded about how much authority and what things people can do inside enterprises, because a bad actor can cause a lot of damage and typically causes more damage sometimes than outsiders.
Well, when we talk about cybersecurity challenges, they're really engulfing us. We have seen over the last several years a growth in what's been going on in terms of hacking and attacking across the internet. And a lot of the attacks that are taking place look like normal business activity. They're getting very good at what they do, but we have to continue to monitor those networks, take a close look at what's going on, because we are going to see a little spike of anomalous activity. And it's that anomalous behavior that should raise the level of awareness and go after it to see what's really going on.
Historically, we've had an accounting problem. When people get focused and understand how big the problem is, how much they're under attack, the attack vectors that they're subject to, then you get the better clarity on exactly what we're facing. But the challenges not only come in the threats, both external and internal, but I think the bigger problem is how we position to deal with those threats and risks.
So, Paul, where are these threats coming from?
Well, as Steve was referring to earlier, so we see a lot of the threats coming, from nation states, people that are well funded now to really go after intellectual property, kind of, and want to steer. So, as enterprises, for instance, decide to move into countries like China or Russia, local competitors may not necessarily enjoy that a company from the U.S. is coming to their country and taking a market share away. So they may want to look at, what is this company really doing? What intellectual property is there that I can leverage, kind of, to make my business better? So it really depends on how you actually look at that from a business perspective to see whether these threats are impacting your business. From that perspective, and also consider when you move into a new business area or move into a new country to take that geopolitical risk really into consideration, and that you just don't say, well, what could happen to me when I move into China, or what could happen to me if I start a business in Russia. So that really should be considered, and businesses are not taking that seriously enough yet.
Oh, wow. Stephen, why is the mainframe the best platform on which to deploy enterprise authentication services?
The mainframe has an incredibly robust and strong security server. It's part of the machine itself. And it has been there, for over 3 decades, and it just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. We know that when we implement security properly on a mainframe, we probably have the most secure device within an entire network as compared to any other platform, any other device. When we're looking at that, we see lots of other implementations of security on lots of other different operating systems and devices, and the multiplicity of it often means that you have some that are very secure and some that are insecure, and a lot of improper implementation. When you consolidate onto your IBM mainframe security server and you extend the power of that identity and access management out to all those other devices, you inherit the security of the mainframe as an iPhone or as an Android. You're inheriting that same level of identity and access control that you get on the mainframe. From another point of view, not only is it stronger, it's easier to manage. It takes fewer people, because as opposed to managing what are called access control lists, where user IDs and passwords are kept in 30 or 40 different places, you reduce it down that you only have a few places that you have to manage those. So you get a lot of efficiency savings. There's an axiom in our industry, which is that security that's easy to use gets used.
Yeah.
Security that's hard to use, people go around it and avoid it and refuse to implement it. So we view the mainframe as kind of the easiest place to start with to create the most strong identity and access management solution for the entire enterprise and all the different applications on it.
So to extend on that, for example, businesses want to deliver new solutions very rapidly to market these days.
Sure.
But what security does to that is implementing new technologies to actually secure those environments basically draws that back. Right now it takes 6 months to implement that new solution because we need to implement a new security solutions. What we're proposing is use what you already have invested in, the tools and techniques that people are familiar with, so they don't have to learn anything new. So you get faster to market with whether that's a cloud solution, whether it's a mobile solution or whatever. Use your existing infrastructure. You already invested that. Your people know this stuff inside out. Why would you even consider something else? And that's what we're trying to really get across to the organizations we deal with.
Vanguard fits in the solution set for the analytical tools to help you understand where you have risk, unmitigated risk, understand the quality of your security implementation, the quality of your system security, the quality of your compliance. Having that visibility is extremely important to an organization to be able to basically have what we call visibility. You can't do this without tools. There's just no human way in our modern systems to be able to keep an eye on things with your own eyeballs, just looking at logs and things, and looking at system state parameters. You can't do that by yourself. You need tools to help you do that. And Vanguard has a fine set of tools to help that. And I've been to many organizations that have the Vanguard suite that are not even using it to the extent they could. So if you have the Vanguard suite, you need to take a look at it. Needing to make sure you're fully exercising it to get the benefit out of it for your investment.
Does anything you do, or can anyone do anything about that malicious individual inside?
Yeah, and part of it's just good IT hygiene from a security configuration point of view. We know how to implement security that stops almost everything bad that can happen. Not 100%, but we know how to do that from a technical point of view, and where the insiders usually are able to be successful is where simply there's been a failure to implement something we know we should do. But there is a category of employees within each enterprise that by definition has supervisor state or authority to do anything they want in the enterprise, which means that they can unlock any locked door and they can read any locked file. And that's your IT support staff, the people who you're dependent on to keep your prediction systems up and running. So those individuals have to be highly trusted. And we had a recent incident where the government lost some very classified data to an inside IT guy. That's no surprise, really. Because if you don't implement tools that prevent the highly privileged IT professional from accessing resources that they shouldn't access, they're going to do it. and they're going to be successful at it, and you probably won't even know that it ever happened. So for our mainframe customers, we sell tools that enable those IT support people to do what they have to do to make sure that this production environment is up and running all the time, but at the same time that they can't access resources that they should not access. Oh. That's a very tough sell, because those IT guys are the buyers.
So they don't want to be limited.
They don't want their set of keys taken away. But from a fiduciary governance point of view, higher up in the organization, that is definitively something you should implement and do it soon.
So if you look at some of the industry reports, so Verizon recently came out with a data breach report. If you read that report, the three things that they really highlight is we've been very focused on what we call preventative control, so stopping people. Well, that has not been successful because we still see all the security breaches, right? So what they're really focusing on, and what we're focusing on too, is really these detective controls, noticing when people are doing bad things, and then have your response procedures in support of that so that you can react very quickly to say, hey, he's walking out the door with intellectual property, or whether that's really walking out the door or whether he's sending it through email or whatever the capability may be. But that's really what we need to focus on. So moving away a little bit more from the preventive side, although that's still good hygiene, but we know we can be 100% successful. So we need to start focusing more on the detective controls and putting those around it. So as Steve mentioned, from an IT support perspective, put those controls so people really notice exactly at the right time when people are walking out the door with their data. So that's what we look for.
Wow. So, Stephen, what else does Vanguard provide to ensure mainframes are protected from attack?
Well, not just mainframes, but the whole enterprise. But our clear goal is to go out and work with our customers every day to develop the technologies that they want, that they perceive that they have a need for, and do it in a very efficient, low-cost way for them to implement. So our primary motivators are ease of use. As we said, security that's hard to use doesn't get used, so we make our tools very, very easy to use. And our fundamental start as a company almost 30 years ago is we started out as a training company. Oh. And we still believe, and it's still true, that our customers get the highest return on investment for a dollar spent on training, much more than software, much more than services, because that trained individual comes back and makes their security better. It's a great investment. So we are out in the field every day. We have trainers out around the country, and we train overseas as well. We have professional services individuals who are highly trained that go out to our customer sites in the United States and outside the United States to implement security. And we deploy our automated software tools that basically bring the level of security up to make that IBM mainframe as an enterprise security server the best enterprise security server. Mm-hmm.
Paul, why do you consider Vanguard the best security partner for organizations with IBM mainframes?
Well, that's a very good question. So we really employ some of the world-renowned security experts that are at our customers every day, helping them implement our solutions, helping them risk assess their controls to really understand how they could improve their security. That's really our main benefit that we bring to organizations. It's a skill set that our people have to really take them to that next level of security.
And then from a product level, what we do is we take that knowledge and expertise that we've developed over the last 27, 28 years, and we productize it. Anything we can automate, we build into, and we try to build in the expertise that our people have into the software tools themselves. Mm-hmm. So that the tool, when you're getting a tool from Vanguard to help you automate your security or optimize your security, that has knowledge built into it that virtually no one else has. So it's a big advantage for users of the Vanguard services and software.
Very good. So the experience of the company and the experience that you spoke of, your expert employees.
Absolutely.
With all that. How do companies benefit from Vanguard software and services?
What they mostly are able to do is implement the highest, best level of security for their critical assets. We haven't talked about this, but basically, you know, the lunch menu in the cafeteria, nobody should really worry about somebody hacking into that. We try to focus the expense and the spend on defending the critical resources within an enterprise. So what customers are seeing is they get a very high return on their investment dollar with us in terms of what they're able to achieve. We are functionally a very low cost. It's hard for people to believe when I say mainframe and low cost, but it's a very low cost implementation. The investment dollars that we're taking advantage of and helping our customers take advantage have already been spent. And they were spent not for security, but they were spent to get the best production system that they could have for the workload they have, whether they're a bank, insurance company, hospital, airline. They already spent the money on the mainframe. So we're just giving them relatively low-cost tools that enable them to make that even more powerful, and it doesn't drive up the cost of ownership of the mainframe itself.
Amazing. Well, gentlemen, thanks for sharing with us the important cybersecurity services that you provide at Vanguard Integrity Professionals. It's really interesting.
Well, thanks for giving us an opportunity to let a lot of people know about what we do.
Thank you, Jackie. This was very insightful for us too.
And thank you for watching. For 21st Century Business, I'm Jackie Bales.